Alrighty, so this is Deuce We the People News. One more time at it, y'all. Okay, not attorney, not giving legal advice. Educational purposes only. Okay? Never just look straight forward. Always look around and be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Use the Second Amendment. Arm yourself with knowledge. Alright, so this is part 2. Okay? Unethical amnesia. Okay? So, it was an interesting thing that I was talking about in my last video and to today. Alright? So cops, judges, attorneys leave their emotions out to violate you due to they're using usurpation against you. And they created all these rules to benefit them, but give you the false impression that it helps you. But see, they get to violate all that. Okay? Second Amendment shall not be infringed, but yet they created statutes that infringes it. Do I need to say more? Okay? And, but the Supreme Court's over there, blah, 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 blah. So, they keep on wanting to go all the way back into the beginning and saying what the weapons used and all that. Well, wait a minute. If our founding fathers had machine guns or these other guns we have today, would our founding fathers use it, and would they still have the Second Amendment applied to everybody? Well, I am led to believe and do believe they would, because they still did not trust the government. So, just that itself, not trusting them, makes me believe that they would still have the Second Amendment written as it is with intent. Okay? So, now what the Supreme Courts are doing, all right, is willfully ignoring the Constitution with ill will, with intent to mislead the people. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead. Remember, right, if you, never mind, let's go ahead and go on.
So many people in prison who will tell you that they didn't do it. They will tell you that they are in jail because of trumped up charges and they're not guilty of the acts or the deeds that they have been in prison for. Well, why is that? How is it that you have a whole bunch of innocent people in jail? You don't. But no.
I'm going to dig on that deeper. And if you ever see my video, okay, it's nothing against you. This is a different category, okay? Different research, different studies. So whoever this guy is, if he, gets mad at me, do your research. Actually read the statutes, codes, rules, regulations, and law. Okay? So, we're getting charged by information. By hearsay. Why is it hearsay, y'all? Because the complainant talked to the officer. Officer, therefore, fills out the paperwork and the officer signs it. And then he gets it to the secondary officer. And then that secondary officer gives it to the magistrate. Well, meanwhile, you go into the judge or to jail. Well, that's violating Criminal Code 14 and 15, okay? With a warrant, without a warrant, okay? And then violated 16 under the, seeing the magistrate, for that magistrate to issue a writ or warrant for your body to be in captivity for the ransom they keep asking for. All right? You're supposed to have the proper cause hearing, yes, but you're supposed to be there instantly. Innocent people are not supposed to go to jail. All right? That's the reason why the Criminal Code 14, 15, and 16 was there, plus a couple of other codes, right? Is to prevent innocent people to be sitting in jail for 1 minute, let alone for 2 years. And now Texas has this new fucking law that that the people here in Texas voted for to add to the Constitution, that heavy crimes uh, not to be bonded out. Well, wait a minute. Where's the due process? And that's violation of the 8th Amendment, for one. That's a violation of due process, for two. And even with the Constitution be available, it is not allowed to actually still be a new amendment that violates the due process.
Nobody wants to admit one's own wrongdoing. One would rather assume or believe or take.
Right? When does the cop actually admit of his wrongdoing? When does the judge admit of their wrongdoing? When does the prosecutor admit of their wrongdoing? They admit it somewhat when they say, well, I'll go ahead and dismiss this case, or we're not going to proceed forward on this, or whatever. Hey, I don't have enough evidence, or blah, 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 right? But anyway, when do they admit these things?
I don't know, the mental mindset that they are the victim and they were victimized and they're a subject to circumstances that were beyond their control and they should not be in jail.
Yeah. So this goes in both ways, and this is what the Founding Fathers was trying to prevent. That's the reason why they said, we'll give you the republic, but it's up to you to keep it. All right? But what we are allowing them to do is what? Violate our due process, the nature and the cause. And they only give one of them. And it's by information, not by affidavit under penalty of perjury by the complainant that has been harmed. Okay? So that's a violation of due process right there. Now, moreover, y'all, sit and think about this. Okay? Let me pause this for a second. Alright? Now, it is public for court, and when you get found guilty or innocent, then it's public record. Now, when the news says, hey, the officer chased this guy and got him for evading for arrest, or this, that, here, and there, and it went on the news. And then charged it where you can look it up, his pictures and all that, or her, on the internet, and see this picture, right? Well, that's tampering with the jury. They're giving out information. So when the jury goes out there, the news people has convinced them that they're bad guys. When they look up the public records of the pictures of them being in jail, what? So that gives the impression the way they look misleads them whether they're innocent or guilty or presumed innocent. So that is tampering with the jury. So I know that's a far stretch for y'all, but what do? Never look straight forward. Always look around us to be able to protect ourselves by any means necessary. Okay? They're using this to get people to convict with willful intent. Okay? We've just been too dumb to realize it. And we've been accepting these news things. And remember, they're always on the officer's side. They never get to hear from the arrested person until attorney gets involved or anything like that. Sit and think about that for a minute. And then, do you ever see any news agency changing anything?
In fact, there was a study done on one of the greatest mobsters in the 1950s, and this individual was known for killing countless people. He would either kill himself or order hits out.
Let's go a little further than that.
If somebody really knows what this is, the reason why they do it is so that they can feel better about themselves. So not only am I going to demonize and dehumanize the victim, I'm going to exonerate me of my own deeds and actions so that I can feel better about myself. Now, think about what we're talking about here in the context of a relationship, because this is oftentimes how we show up. And this is why it is so hard for a betrayal.
Now, I want to just stand clear. This, again, this is talking about relationships video, but do you have a relationship with your city council? Do you have a relationship with the officers? Do you have a relationship with, well, every time you go into court, there's a relationship. Now, it's a good or bad relationship, but it's still a relationship. With the attorney, it's a relationship. With the officers, when you guys consult, good or bad, it's a form of relationship.
Each spouse to heal, because they're listening to the heart and the mind of their partner who did such a deed. There's no repentance, there's no remorse, there's no compassion, there's no empathy. It's almost like a justification and a minimization and an exoneration that one goes through, and this is what makes it difficult. And in this particular case, if an individual does not remember, does not recall, or chooses not to, most likely this is an individual that increases the probability, not that they will do it again, but it increases the probability that they can do it again. If you first confess your faults. Even the scripture says that you must confess your faults to your brother. Now, in this case, in the marital context, part of the full discovery is confessing your faults to your spouse, to your partner, because it is healing for you, because you're no longer holding on to the secret, because when you hold on to the secret, you give it power, and you give it power ultimately over you. And if you're holding on to a big secret, now you got to protect that secret by telling more lies. And so now you're not just talking about a lie, you're living a lie as a part of your daily life. And so what that does is it creates a breach of trust, right? A wedge that exists between you. And now the intimacy that you once had, now you're far apart, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. There's more distrust. You can't come together and establish anything like you once had, because you are unrepentant and you refuse to change. And so unethical amnesia, while it is plausible in certain regards, it cannot be used as a justification to not confess, to not share the truth, to not engage in full disclosure. So unethical amnesia sometimes causes us to struggle with the details of the affair, but not having the proper insight keeps us from understanding the why of the affair. You see, these are two different lanes here, and both are equally important. And once we're able to show up when it comes to the facts of the affair, but also dealing with the feelings of the affair, it helps the one who's been engaged in the affair, it helps the spouse who's the victim of the affair, and it allows you to.
Okay, you get the point there, right? And so when you flip that, what is the officers doing? Well, the judge finds out that, or attorneys bring in and finds out there was an innocent man for 20 years in there, but then a Supreme Court says, well, the grand jury convicted him, so we can't release him. Have you guys heard of that case before? Right? Well, then we turn around and it's okay to shoot an innocent man to get to the victim, to stop the victim. Right? That's a court case too. Right? So there's a lot of things that's against we the people that is not allowed, they are not allowed to do lawfully and constitutionally. But they're making rules up to violate and use your patience against the people and making us subjects, right? And even if the officer believes in these things, he's willfully ignorant of not actually doing his job to uphold his contract, the oath of office, and understand and fully understand the contents of the Constitution so he does not violate the people's right. Like I said prior to, I told him what the officers before, what they did wrong. I write it down. I'll show you what they're doing wrong. And he told me, well, why do I need to read it? So you're not willfully ignorant. By not reading it, and I can clearly establish these footprints, how they're violating our rights, how you need to take us to the nearest magistrate, you will willfully put me in jail before seeing a magistrate, which makes it unlawful for you. Anyway, this will be the People News. Bye, y'all.